It is that time. Training camp fully over. Preseason fully over. We need to dive in to the Bears' Week 1 opponent, the Minnesota Vikings. We're going to do exactly that on this show with our friend Pete Bercich. Adam Jahns will also join us. CHGO Bears starts right now. CHGO Bears Podcast presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code CHGO365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Welcome in to the show today. Adam Hoge, Greg Braggs Jr., and back with us from tennis camp, also known as the U.S. Open, Mark Carman.
Guys, I missed you.
Ooh.
I missed you too, Gregory. I know the chat missed me. I missed you. Thank you, Travis McKnight, and everybody else out there who are just thrilled to see me today. I had a great trip. I feel so ready for the season. I don't even know what to do with myself here. I'm just gonna settle in and enjoy the ride today.
Bob, we see your amazing $100 super chat. We will get to that later in the show. There's some sad news from a friend of ours we got to talk about. We're going to basically give our guy Kevin a whole segment later on in the show. So, but thank you for sending that in. We are kicking off really week 1 right now is what we're going to do because we can't wait. We're tired of waiting. So we're not going to wait till after Labor Day. We're going to dive into the Minnesota Vikings right now with our guy, our friend Pete Bercich, who's the radio analyst up there for the Vikings, a 4K fan, and he joins us. We had him in studio a couple times over the summer, and now it is finally here. Pete, we're ready to go. We're ready to talk Bears-Vikings.
Finally, right? I mean, this is where the NFL gets it right. They have a magic of how they do the schedule, and for J.J. McCarthy to get his first start, 12 miles from LaGrange Park where he grew up, they do such a good job. Divisional game, the whole thing, and you could do I think a 7-day long pregame bit on this on all the angles, and with Ben Johnson and the success that the Lions have had against the Vikings, and now brings it to Chicago. And we can cover as much of that as you want, but so many great talking points. We opened the season last year in New York against the Giants, and you're kind of looking for things to talk about. This year, it's completely different, and I love those games. I love the games in Chicago. I grew up going to Soldier Field. It looks a little different now, but it's still just, for me, this is as much fun as it. The only thing more fun than being at Soldier Field is beating the Packers in Lambeau, because that's still, I think, my favorite thing of all time.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That'll never.
For those that maybe missed Pete, when he joined us in the summer, he's a Chicago guy, Providence Catholic. Shout out to Carmel playing Providence in a few weeks here. We'll get to that in a few weeks. So he knows the Bears well. He knows the Vikings obviously really well at being the Vikings radio analyst and played for the Vikings. So let's dive into this. How is J.J. McCarthy? By the way, just breaking news right as we were starting the show, I saw he got named a captain. So he will be one of the Vikings captains. How has he looked in the preseason and throughout training camp?
He's looked good. I think when you sit down and talk to Kevin O'Connell, he mentions that JJ, this is a while ago, about a week ago or so, but he said he's ahead of schedule. I thought he had a couple really good practices against New England Patriots. In that, those combined practices now are so important, especially when you have a younger quarterback or a new offensive system like you guys have, to just getting out there against a different colored jersey, some different looks. It's still kind of a wild card. I think they're going to move him around and get him out of the pocket a little bit. give him some options, try to cut the field in half, the stereotypical type things that you do with a younger quarterback. I think where the biggest change in this offense is going to be is just in our dedication to the run. We can, Donovan Jackson, our new left guard, rookie from Ohio State, is looking good. He's a guard. I mean, he's the kind of guard that you want. He's not a nice guy. Okay. And then, Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, how's that going to look? And then Jordan Mason, I think, brings a little bit more of a power game to our running style. And we brought in Keith Carter. He was the run game coordinator with the New York Jets to be the assistant offensive line coach. So kind of like what you guys are going through, where you don't really know what the identity of the run is going to look like. I think the Vikings are kind of going through the same thing. My point is a good running game and a good defense helps a young quarterback. And Kevin O'Connell wants to throw the football. We are not a running team. I mean, that's just our identity. But he's going to have to put some of that aside, I think, because McCarthy is still he's not a rookie per se, but this is still the first game that he started, the first action that he's getting. So we'll see. This will be I believe the first time he's going to have a uniform on in an away stadium, because he has played some preseason, but they've all been at home. So there's and for it to be again in Chicago, I don't know how many hundreds of family members he'll have, blah blah blah. It's a big stage, so he's gonna get tested very, very quickly.
Did you agree with the decision to have as limited a reps as he did in preseason, or would you have liked to have seen him get out there a little more?
We would always like to see more of him. I think that the reason to not play JJ in that third preseason game, or actually in the second preseason game either, because we just got off the joint practices, but just the other, the other guys, the offensive line that Kevin O'Connell wanted to have. Now, in the past, starters didn't, the guys that you knew were starters, guys that you depended on, never stepped on the field in the preseason. And a couple years ago, that was kind of new to us because, with Zimmer and everything, the starters were out there. They played. So because guys like Ryan Kelly and Will Fries and Brian O'Neill and Christian Darrisaw were not going to be on the field, I think that's the reason why Kevin O'Connell decided not to play him. It's because of the people that are around him. JJ didn't take a snap the entire preseason. So what good are reps for a quarterback when the rest of that staff isn't out there, when the rest of the starters are not out there? It affects the routes. It affects timing. It does a lot. So I think that went into more the decision to not put him out there. Would we have liked to have seen more of him? Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Pete, I'm going to be the unfair question guy today on the show. So let's start with that quarterback conversation we're having. Who throws for more yards this year, JJ or Caleb?
It's going to be pretty close, and I think both guys have a good chance of being at the 4,000 mark. I really do. Getting a chance to see some of Caleb Williams in what the Ben Johnson wants to do with this offense. There's going to be some big opportunities. That's a very good question. That's a really good question. I do. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'll have to go with JJ on that one, only because we play inside, and because of the way our offense is just wired. With you have Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson and Hawkinson, and that's our identity. I think Ben Johnson likes to run the football more. At least that's what I've seen out of him in Detroit. Wants to run the football more, limiting pass attempts, but when they do throw, it's pretty explosive. So yeah, I gotta go. I'll go with JJ. Right? Why not? I got a Vikings sweatshirt on, so I'm gonna go with JJ. But you can flip a coin on these two. That's a great question, by the way.
Follow up though, because that's super interesting to me. Because I don't know if people know this. Sam Darnold was the #1 deep ball passer in the NFL last year. He also, I think, was second in turnover worthy throws, but didn't actually turn the ball over that much. So it seems like he maybe got away with some things. despite, as much as you say that's their identity. I mean, that really has been their identity. And yeah, I don't know that people think about J.J. McCarthy that same way in terms of like a volume passer. But I think that's the big question here this is what Kevin O'Connell's good at. He's done it with multiple quarterbacks now, including that incredible season Sam Darnold had. So you seem pretty confident that he's going to be able to take J.J. McCarthy, who's been kind of a high completion, not necessarily deep ball thrower, and can make him that.
Right. And what's amazing is how this conversation would be different if J.J. McCarthy were in San Francisco in that offense, right? Everyone would think, it's a perfect match. He's going to be great. He fits what they try to do. And because of just the lack of volume in the passing game in college, I mean, that's something that when you're evaluating college quarterbacks, a lot of these guys have started for a long time, but they're in systems where they're throwing the ball. I mean, you get to see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pass reps. And then with JJ, you just didn't see as many because that's just the Michigan way. They just didn't throw the football as much. So the projection is there. But that is the kind of quarterback that this offense needs. And they will find out if JJ can do that. Trust me, this is not going to – I just don't see Kevin O'Connell, reinventing the wheel, so to speak, offensively to build something around – what McCarthy's capable of when you can, and you've proven it, that you can go out and get a Sam Darnold, or like we just brought in Carson Wentz, different story, a little bit older, blah, blah, blah. But you have that strong arm, 6'4", 6'5" guy that can get the ball down the field. I don't know how much patience they'll have, but it's going to be that offense. Don't worry. I mean, I don't see a revamp in Minnesota or a restyling of this offense and what they want to do.
So Bears fans were, let's be honest, pretty much celebrating that Jordan Addison was suspended for this opener.
Yeah, he's looked really good this preseason, man.
Yeah,
No one on the show would do something like that.
But
I would too. I mean,
but here comes Adam Thielen. Now he's 35 years old. Has killed the Bears plenty of times himself. So I guess how quickly can he knows his offense. So it seems like you should be able to plug in 35-year-old Adam Thielen and into this offense, and he can do what he needs to do. Is that the expectation? And then I guess how much do you think he still has left?
I haven't seen a lot of him or studied him or looked at him much with Carolina because we haven't run across him. I do know in his last season here with the Vikings, against zone coverages and things like that, he is still a very, very good receiver. I just think he was lost a little bit of a step. So I think it's going to depend upon how much man-to-man the Bears are willing to play. If you want to play man-to-man, I think you can match up with them pretty well. I wouldn't be as concerned about them. The problem is you can't do that all the time. Man-to-man really kind of limits it changes and I think hurts you a little bit in the running game because you're chasing coverage instead of reading what's going on in front of you. So that proportion or how big of a game Adam Thielen might have opening day, I think is going to depend on the ratio of man to zone that the Bears decide to play, because he knows this offense. He can get himself open. He knows when to settle in his zone and where to break things off. So that rhythm, that timing will come back to him, I think, pretty quickly. Bringing in a familiar face, I think, is what is main thing with Kevin O'Connell. You know what this guy's about. You don't have to worry about him upsetting the apple cart. I mean, it's not Stephon Diggs, right? I love Stephon Diggs. He's a great receiver, but he is a personality. If he's not getting the ball, he's going to let people know about it. I think Adam Thielen is just at this moment when you are less than 2 weeks out from your opening game is just a better fit. But yeah, you might see a lot of them if the Bears want to just play zone and give a lot of attention to Justin Jefferson.
Quick little side note here. Jeremy Fowler tweeting out that Bears free agent defensive tackle Zach Pickett signing with the Chiefs in their practice squad. Let's bring it on, Zach. Back to you, Pete, in a second.
All right, we will take a quick timeout. Hang on, Pete. We got to take a quick break. We'll come back. They'll shift gears to Brian Flores and the defensive side of the football for the Minnesota Vikings because, quite frankly, as much as J.J. McCarthy is a huge story, this is the part of this matchup that I am fascinated by, Brian Flores versus Ben Johnson. So we'll get into that coming up next. But first,
whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. New customers, listen up. You're now getting $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. You are coming out a winner. And don't forget about the early payout offers. They're doing this with the NFL and college football season coming up here. With Bet365, the early payout offer, if your team goes up 17 points, like Northwestern's going to do against Tulane this weekend, you get the instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Download the app. Use the code CHGO365 when you sign up. Playoff season is also here. New customers, once again, $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. You do have to be 21 or older. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. In-app only. Bonus bets on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more.
and just like the Miami Dolphins, the world has gone soft. Everything needs to be bubble wrapped. Probably even those tennis players you saw over the weekend.
Easy. Easy.
You know, soda used to have some kick to it.
Oh,
Now it's just all about pretty colors and easy fizz. Well, let me tell you what's not soft. RC Cola.
Ugh.
RC Cola is not a soft drink. Just
Delicious.
damn good cola. It's the original cola that doesn't fold under pressure. RC is an OG cola in a world of spineless soft drinks. There's no trends. There's no gimmicks. There's no glow up. RC hasn't changed its stripes since 1905 because it didn't need to. It's the same bold, crisp flavor it's always been. RC Cola tastes like a punch in the thirst. So do yourself a favor. Grab some RC at your local store. Stock up for all your end-of-summer parties, back-to-school celebrations, or just watching the game. RC is the move for whatever you're doing. All right, time now to take the temp, presented by Four Seasons Heating, Cooling.com. Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Four Seasons Heating, Cooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That's Four Seasons Heating, Cooling.com. Pete Bercich, radio analyst for the Minnesota Vikings, continuing to join us here. And we're going to take the temp on Brian Flores' defense. I was going to save this for next week. I came across this for a segment I'm working on previewing the game next week. I'm too excited about it, so I'm going to share it now. But do you know, any of you guys can answer this, what Brian Flores' points per game? He's 1-3 against the Chicago Bears since he became the Vikings DC. Points per game allowed against the Chicago Bears.
I'm ineligible to answer this, Gregory, because I talked with Adam before the show. You, on the other end, can answer.
He's 1-3.
1-3.
I'm sorry, 3-1.
I was about
3
to
and
say.
1.
The Bears are 1-3 against Brian Flores.
I
is
was
what
like,
saying.
I know
No, that was-
I blacked out halfway
He's
through
3-1
last
against the
year.
Bears. My
But-
I would
apologies.
say it's probably around 17.
Very good. It's 16 points per game, and he
That's
is
what I
allowed.
was gonna say.
Now, you
You're right
probably
there.
know where I'm going with this. He is 0-4 against Ben Johnson and the Detroit Lions, and I
Yeah.
am saying that one accurately, 0-4. Do you know how many points per game he's allowed to the Lions in those 4 games?
Probably
I do.
25.
It is 30 and
30.
a half.
All right, here's one. Here,
How you like
here's
that,
one.
Pete?
Well, hold on. Here's one for you. If I'm not mistaken, the Vikings gave up, I think, 9 rushing touchdowns last year. It might be 11, but it's somewhere around there. 5 of those, 5 were to Jahmyr Gibbs. And he had a receiving touchdown against us as well. Jahmyr Gibbs is the problem that the Viking defense has with Detroit. And the last time I checked, Jahmyr Gibbs is not playing for the Chicago Bears.
You haven't seen the new Roshan Johnson, who's not healthy. You haven't seen you haven't seen Kyle Monangai, Pete. Don't you sleep on our rookie 7th round draft pick.
Well, I mean, I I have a YouTube channel where I break down films called Eye in the Sky. I have a number of these plays that you're talking about and referring to, and it's again, it's the players, right? And Jahmyr Gibbs has just been an absolute thorn in the Viking side, where we've lost 5 in a row against the Detroit Lions. So that how much of and what Ben Johnson knows of this defense, I can rattle through probably 4 or 5 things that I think he's going to do. Your tight ends blocking, not just in the run, but also in the passing game, are going to be is going to be essential to give Caleb Williams time. And all you got to do is watch the difference between how Caleb Williams looked against Buffalo and how he looked against Kansas City, because Kansas City threw some things at that offensive line that weren't exactly blocked up kosher. And then Caleb kind of looked like he did a year ago, right? Against Buffalo, he looked great. He looked fantastic. I expect Flores to throw the entire kitchen sink in looks and everything else at Caleb Williams and make this offense with his new offense, make all the adjustments necessary in protection. So you might see a lot of big plays, a lot of volatility, some big plays hitting things at the right time, and then other plays where, you got free runners to the quarterback. So for Flores, this is a kitchen sink kind of game, I think, schematically, where he's going to throw as much as he can at the young quarterback in a new system and see what works.
Yeah, and I think we're on the same page with that. I mean, the reality is like it's what we're both getting at here is really the crux of what I think is going to be fascinating about the Bears season as a whole, but especially in week 1 in this matchup against Brian Flores, because Ben Johnson has had success against Brian Flores, is how much is he going to be able to recreate in Chicago without those guys like Jahmyr Gibbs that he had in Detroit? So, I mean, I think it would be unrealistic to think the Bears are going to go out and score 30 points. But, of course, the hope is that they score more than 12, which the average is 16 that they've been able to score. But 27 came in that one matchup last year when Caleb Williams and the Bears kind of had that comeback. Most of that game, though, they were struggling like those other 3 matchups in which they only scored 12 points against the Vikings in all 3 of those games. So you're hoping it's somewhere in the middle, right? Like, can you get to the 20s, low 20s, and that might be where this game is decided next week.
Yeah, the success of Ben Johnson has been predicated, I think, on a couple of things. Is when the Vikings do blitz, Goff knew how to take advantage of it. He knew where to go. And then the explosiveness of Jahmyr Gibbs. It's not as if they had some type of scheme or gotcha play. It's in fact, if anything else, it's very simple. You go watch in the season finale, one of the big runs by Jahmyr Gibbs for a touchdown was literally the tight end motioning in the backfield, I formation, lead ISO. I mean, it doesn't get any more simple than that. But yet you get one missed tackle and Gibbs is in the end zone for a touchdown. So having a quarterback who is smart enough and good enough to know when mistakes happen, because blitzing is gambling. We blitzed a little bit over 40% last year, right? And I know Flores is going to blitz enough to maintain pressure on. He's a certain level of pressure that he wants to maintain on the quarterback. And if he has to blitz to get there, he'll blitz 70% of the time if that's required. That's where Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave come in, where maybe we don't have to blitz as much. We can win some, rushes up front. Jerry Tillery, God bless him, he played the run very, very well, but he wasn't much of a pass rusher, right? So you bring in a couple of defensive linemen that can win one-on-one, mix them with Grenard and Van Ginkel, let them run stunts. Maybe you don't have to be as aggressive in blitz as much. But Jared Goff, in his ability to know when there was a mistake and hit a guy who's wide open, and then Jahmyr Gibbs he goes, when you blitz, what are you doing? You're isolating guys all the way across the board. If you don't get there, all it takes is one guy to miss somebody, and Gibbs is a good enough athlete where if you miss him, he's gone. And that's what we've seen against the Lions. And so can the Bears recreate that? We'll see. I'm sure they're going to do their best.
Well, if you're Ben Johnson and you're going into this game with the experience you have up against Brian Flores, how would you, like, who would you be looking at to attack on that Vikings defense? Where is the soft spot in your eye?
I would be testing the interior of this defensive line. Harrison Phillips was with us. We traded him. You're going to have someone like Jalen Redmond or Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, who was a 5th-round draft pick. Levi Drake Rodriguez, Elijah Williams, who was a tryout guy who made this team. We had I think we had 7 undrafted rookie free agents make this team, by the way, just as an aside. Undrafted rookies. Wow. There are many teams that have 7 rookies make it, period. But so when those guys are in, I think he's going to want to test the run, right? And you do that by spreading out the formation, adding tight ends because it's an odd front. So outside linebacker, everybody will widen out, make those gaps a little bit bigger, and just let the running back take the handoff and look for opportunity. And when it's there, just take it north and south. Bootlegs, moving the quarterback around, cutting the field in half, meaning you guys have already seen more 3-by-1 formations than you probably have seen all last year. That's what Johnson likes to do. And he'll do it through shift and motion, by the way. He's not going to line up in anything and just run it. But he's going to have 3 receivers to one side of the field, so it cuts down the quarterback's read. And it also allows the back and maybe the backside tight end to stay in for protection. So all those things, and it's off the play action that he starts attacking the middle of the field, right? You get the blitzes, you get the linebackers, everybody stepping up. That creates a seam right in behind them underneath the safeties. Though, he'll wear you out that way if you give it to him. And then he will also have a number of plays where the ball just gets out quickly. So regardless if the Vikings rush 3 or 0 blitz, that ball is getting out right away, and you're going to let the wide receiver in space try to make somebody miss and move the chains. So a big mixture, I think, of all of that will just you can't let Flores understand and dial into what you're doing, whether it's formationally by down and distance or whatever, because he'll figure out a way. And honestly, I think the other issue or the other part that I think Flores is probably most concerned about is how the offensive tackles, whichever pair you guys put out there, are going to hold up against Jonathan Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel one-on-one, if he's even going to allow that. Meaning you can always have a tight end or a running back chip and help out, because Grenard has been really been a thorn in his side against the Lions. He's had some really good games.
Yeah, why did they trade Harrison Phillips? That one surprised me last week.
I think they saw enough. Harrison Phillips had a good start to the season last year, and he fell off, I think, quite a bit toward the end. He's a big man. He played a lot of snaps last year. And so I don't think it was anything against Harrison Phillips per se. I think it was they've got some younger players that they feel can accomplish what Harrison Phillips was doing. And so offloading him will save them some money and allow them to make some moves that they felt they needed to make. One at wide receiver. I wouldn't have been surprised if they bring in another experienced cornerback into the mix. I know we signed one to our practice squad. So, because we're thin there too. We let Mekhi Blackman go. He was a 3rd-round pick from 2 years ago. Tore his ACL last year, didn't play, played all this preseason, and then they traded him to the Colts. So depth at the cornerback position is a bit of a concern. But yeah, here I don't think it was anything to do. That was a business decision more so, I think, than anything else.
Hey, Pete, on your way out here, size up the division for us. The Lions won 3 times as many games as the Bears last year, 15-5. The Vikings almost did the same at 14. If you really, the Packers doubled them and a +1 at 11. But it seems like everyone thinks that some people think the Bears are that Minnesota will be the bottom and the Bears will top them. Where are you at on all that?
I think just like last year with the unknown and Darnold, we have now the unknown with McCarthy and a few other bodies. It's very volatile. But my prediction for the division, I think the Vikings will eventually win this division. The Bears will finish second. Detroit will finish third, and then Green Bay might be 2-15.
Wow.
Maybe, no, let's say 3-14.
Wow.
I hate
Now,
the Packers.
Yeah, I know.
There's no logic. There's absolutely no logic to that. It's just pure hatred for that team.
Right. You do sound serious, though, about the Packers finishing fourth, and I don't want to give anything away from my own predictions that we were going to say for next week, but I agree with them.
You just got Hoge.
I think the Packers have the worst roster in this division.
It's all going to be about the development of Jordan Love. And I've gone to Green Bay now for 30 years and seen Favre to Rodgers and how those guys got better every single year. I have not seen that out of Jordan Love. I just haven't seen the development at that position that they're going to need to get them those 2, 3, 4 extra wins to win this division. Until I see Jordan Love start playing at a higher level, then they're going to be a 9-8 kind of team.
Hey, I want to give everybody a tip here. If you have SiriusXM, you can program the Vikings channel into your car. My wife got in my car one day. She's like, "Why do you have the Vikings logo here on your dashboard?" And I said, "Because here's the thing. When I want to be entertained on Sundays when I'm driving home from our game or wherever I am, coming home from Green Bay on a road trip, whatever it is, if you want to be entertained and the Bears aren't playing and the Vikings are, you hit that button and you listen to Pete along with Paul Allen, and it is whatever's going on, Vikings winning, or honestly, especially when the Vikings are losing, it is extremely entertaining listening to you guys.
Fun. Well, I mean, we're, I look at Joniak and he has an office over at Hallis Hall. PA and I don't have, he has his own radio show in Minneapolis. So I think with that situation and the Vikings have allowed us to just have fun with it. Right. And we get it, we get emotional, we get angry. I have so much fun calling games with Paul. Because he's so high or so low, and then I can just sit there somewhere in the middle and just kind of poke him, right? Just poke him and get him to go. And but I've been lucky to call games with him forever. But yeah, we make it fun, no question about it.
Well, I'll be listening as always, and we appreciate you coming.
Well, we need the ratings, so thank you.
Well, we always love having you on the show. We will talk to you. I'm sure we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys. Anytime.
Thanks,
right.
Pete.
Pete Bercich joining us here.
Get ready for that whooping.
Yeah. Say thank you. Say thank you.
That's what it is.
Thank you.
If we wanted to get back to that weird if so-and-so and so-and-so had a baby game, Paul Allen is like if Jeff Joniak and Greg Braggs had a baby.
Yeah.
He's got the professionalism and amazing play-by-play ability of Joniak, but with the Braggs, if he had a microphone in front of his face the entire game,
that makes sense.
The highs and lows, that is what the broadcast is.
Absolutely.
And that is nothing but a compliment because it is amazing to listen to every single week. All right, we are late getting to Adam Jahns. We need to take a break. He is standing by, so we'll get the Bears' perspective back into the show. That's coming up next, but first. From the gym to work to a night out or summer adventures, you want clothes that feel comfortable anywhere. Mack Weldon is what you need. They have breathable clothes that keep you cool, comfortable, and stylish, perfect for the summer or even, the warm days of fall that are coming up here. Their new Tech Linen line combines the easy charm of classic linen with Cool Max technology. You can check out their shirts, shorts, hoodies, and more at MackWeldon.com and get 25% off your first order with code CHGO. I just got a couple pairs of pants that I'll be wearing throughout the season. You'll see them right here. Not rocking them today, but they are super comfortable. Mack Weldon balances classic pieces with updated details to keep you looking sharp. It's not flashy, just classic, always in style, and made from the world's most comfortable performance materials. So go check it out now. Get breathable clothes you can feel comfortable in all summer long. Go to MackWeldon.com. Get 25% off your first order of $125 or more with promo code CHGO. That's Mack Weldon, MackWeldon.com. Promo code CHGO.
Shout out to Mack Weldon and to our friends at Game Time tickets. Do you want to save up to 60% buying last-minute tickets for sports, for concerts, for comedy, for theater? You know you do. Do you want to go to a zone and say, I don't care what seat I get, I just want to sit in this section and get a huge deal on that? Yes, you do. Do you want to see the fees included when you buy your tickets so you don't get surprised? Yes, you do. Yeah. You absolutely do want that. They do all this for you at Game Time. They give you the seat views. They give you the lowest price guarantee. You find a better price somewhere else, they'll give you 110% of difference. That is sweet. Shout out to our friends at Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHGO. You get $20 off. Terms apply. Again, create that account, use the redeem code CHGO, $20 off. Download that Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Thanks again to Pete Bercich for jumping on the show, giving us the Vikings perspective. Always good to see Chim and Don Bird in the comments coping, as usual, with their awful loss of Ben Johnson. They're going at it today.
Losers.
And we're going to move on and bring in Adam Jahns, who I know is ready for football and has a nice little smile on his face. Hello, Johnsy.
I love the energy of Braggs today. Gotta say, I love it.
He's just talking all kinds of shit.
Yeah, I've kind of given up on the football analysis for the rest of the week. Hoge about killed me yesterday with the second run of the 53-man roster breakdown and the long snapper getting cut. So I've just kind of diverted to just talking crap to the Chad and Pete Bercich and anybody else we're going to bring on, including you.
Let's go.
Doesn't really feel like a different day. You're doing a great job. Johnsy, I missed you. Good to see you. I am curious because I know that Ben Johnson has said a lot of things about expectations for this year, but I was listening to one of his things that he said. He was on the Scores Morning Show yesterday, and he said that I want us to establish a tradition on how we're going to play football this year. He didn't mention wins, didn't mention playoffs, didn't mention any of that. I'm curious how you think he's looking at year one, your best guess at like what Ben wants to accomplish here. I know he wants to win a ton of games, but how do you think he's looking at it, judging, in your expert Adam Jahns, watching him all of training camp opinion?
Well, I'm guessing if Ben Johnson establishes the way he wants to play football, whether that's that physical running style, the play action game, off that, just the in-your-face aggressive mentality, that the Bears will win football games. That's why he's here. That's why he was hired. That's why he was coveted. He wants to win, probably wants to win now. I think we all understand, including Ben Johnson himself, that there's some patience required with Caleb Williams within this process towards winning games and being a consistent winner. But, yeah, I know what he's saying. There's some coach speak there. That's my analysis. Ben Johnson's here to win now, though.
Yeah, he said as much the other day, too. I think as we kind of get into, I've been starting to listen to different podcasts, different shows, different Danny Parkins picking the Bears to finish second in the division, just like Pete Bercich just did. I think your guy Nick Wright.
We did a great podcast last night, Parco, Nick.
I was going to say
in row 9 of the upper deck of the Carlos Alcaraz match, where I was screaming at both of them for about 30 minutes and didn't watch an ounce of tennis.
Wait, time out. Row 9 upper deck is the best Nick Wright could do for that one.
Danny too.
Yeah, Danny's big time too now. Yeah, they can't hook their guy Carm up with better seats.
Well, first of all, we didn't need to do anything. I told him, like, you don't even need to get me a ticket. I'll find my way into the building. I know what to do over there. So, but he wanted to make sure I had a seat, which was very nice. And tickets for last night were insanely expensive. So I was like, why don't we not do that and we'll just go to do something else. But Nick wanted to see Carlos. He's a big fan.
Okay.
But he didn't want to spend, I think it was $1,500 for lowers per ticket. So.
Wow, that's insane.
It was $400 for uppers. So thanks for that.
I take back everything I said. That's still very generous. What I was going to say, though, is I'm seeing a bunch of people kind of all of a sudden make the Bears a trendy little pick here. Now, Nick did pick the Bears to win the Super Bowl last year. We should put that caveat in there. What do you feel about the volatility of what the Bears' range of outcomes might be for this season, Johnsy?
Oh, I have them anywhere between 7 and 10 wins. They're going to be competitive. They'll be in almost every single game they play. There may be some ugly ones where things get away from them. There'll be some games where they handle their opponent. And I think, that's where my expectation is at after our training camp. Nothing's really changed because of training camp, because of the preseason. You're going to have a lot of highs that feel really good where they feel like they could play and beat anybody. They're going to have some humbling moments against good teams like the Chiefs where you're like, oh, this could not be as good as I think it can be. But that's what happens when you have a quarterback in his second year and you have young players elsewhere. I think this season, for the most part, will be a test of Ben Johnson's patience in a lot of ways, but that's good for him too as a first-year head coach. So I think right now I'm sticking with my 9-win projection. Some days I feel like 8, but 9 wins feels pretty safe.
Can I do unfair things on the show today? Just just go in weird calm directions if you don't mind.
What are you talking about? You're always fair.
Okay. Well, here's my thought, because I haven't spoken on the 53-man roster here.
Unfair, and I gotta sit next to you.
And I'm just, Johnsy, is it unfair to question at least a little bit the process that Ryan Poles has gone through as far as building the roster? Like, I think one thing you could point to at the very top of it, and chat, chill out. I'm not trying to have a big battle here on the quarterback, but they never really talked to, or they didn't talk to Jayden Daniels because they were so clear about Caleb, and Jayden had a great year. The process there to me is just at least odd. I wonder if he regrets not doing a little bit more there. And then you look at how the offensive line is. You got 10 guys, and you've got Ozzie Trapillo at right tackle as a backup, and wonder where does that land? Carman, he's in no man's land. So I just think when you look at the whole roster, I wonder if it's not almost unfair or wrong to not point out that there's something when you look at it this hasn't gone exactly perfectly. That's all. That's, I guess, the point I'm making.
Carm, it's 100% fair to question, criticize, I don't know, critique, any word you want to use there. The wins aren't there. So, of course, everything should be questioned and criticized until the wins are there, until you have a winning season. This is what we do. This is what the national media does. It's what the local media does. If you're not winning football games, everything you do will be questioned. And even right now, you have to cut mid-round draft picks. That's not good. You have a second-round pick who's a backup at right tackle after trying out at left tackle. You have an undrafted guy beating out that second-round pick. So there's always going to be questions about this process until this process produces a consistent winner. Now, you could give Ryan Poles some praise for that big trade and then drafting Caleb Williams, being in position for that. You could praise him, for being what Ben Johnson wanted, for being the guy who convinced Ben Johnson to join the Bears. But until the wins are there, you can question everything about the process. Carm, go for it.
Yeah. All right.
We have that one, Hoge?
Yeah, I just think that look, obviously, if Jayden Daniels ends up being better than Caleb Williams, and to this point he has been,
I don't even care.
This is going to be revisionist history. Even the Washington Commanders, who have kind of floated out there through back channels a couple times, that if they had had the number 1 pick, they would have taken Jayden Daniels over Caleb Williams. Call me a skeptic on that. Everybody had Caleb Williams as the surefire number 1 pick, and the Bears were the ones that had the pick. This is not the same thing as not doing your due diligence on Deshaun Watson or whatever when they drafted Mitch Trubisky. It's not even remotely the same thing. Even if it doesn't work out, the process is completely different.
It may not be the same thing, but it is, to me, it is a head scratcher. I think they didn't do it because they didn't even interview him because they didn't want to anger Caleb, right? That was a big thing at the time. And I'm not saying maybe they probably would have picked Caleb 99 times out of 100 in the same thing, but I do just wonder if we put the lie detector test on where he would sit on just the process of how they went about things.
Well, I think the most interesting part about this conversation is that a lot of voices that were involved in that evaluation are no longer with the team right now. In all seriousness, if you if you want to question anything about the process, it's that Ben Johnson didn't draft Caleb Williams. He wasn't part of that evaluation process. He didn't sit down with JJ McCarthy either. The coaches that did, they're no longer here. They're scattered across the league. So if to me, that's another story, probably another podcast. You could fill out a whole hour with that conversation. But that's something to watch. Like, I think that's something to consider when you look at the quarterback position.
All right, I think we have some diehard questions.
Well, I have a question here real quick. Are you surprised the Bears didn't, with the uncertainty of Austin Booker heading into week 1 and the lack of pass rush that we saw against the Chiefs and maybe still some question marks on how effective Dio Odengbo can be, are you surprised that they didn't look at any kind of defensive end or pass rusher to add to this roster?
No, I'm sure they did look at players, but in their opinion, they probably saw players that weren't as good or not worth the addition compared to what they already had on the roster. And this is where your trust and faith in Dennis Allen comes in. This is where his creativity as a defensive coordinator comes in. He spent a lot of time working with this current group to catch somebody else up to speed with how diverse and creative the defense tends to be. It's not like inserting him into the 4-3, the 4-down lineman approach that Matt Eberflus had. This is a different defense with different responsibilities, and they have so many different things they want to do up front, and with the different nickel and dime packages they rolled out there throughout training camp. So, yes, I'm sure they did their due diligence and looked at players that could benefit them, but at the end of the day, if you're looking for answers at this point, really, like it's too late already unless you're making a major swing, a major move like you did for Khalil Mack in 2018.
All right. I am not familiar with the diehard questions, so we'll just throw them up on the screen, and we'll all be surprised.
Yeah, we will be. And shout out to the Diehards yesterday. I asked them for some questions yesterday. We weren't able to get to them on yesterday's show, so we're going to bring a few to the conversation while we have Jahns on here for a little more. We got 3 questions that Steven agreed to, so sorry to those that didn't make the cut, but Steven doesn't think your questions were smart. Mr. Ferrier says, we've talked about Dennis Allen having a more aggressive defensive scheme than how he played the last few years. What should we be looking for beyond the obvious, like stopping them from scoring, sacks, QB pressure, to understand if the scheme is working as intended? Or put another way, what tips can you give us that would help us watch our defense smarter?
I can go.
Go ahead, Cole.
Mr. Ferrier is
No, you're definitely not the one who's supposed to answer this question.
Hoge's gonna go.
Just relax. Mr. Ferrier is awesome. That dude has been a diehard. He's talking about upgrading to the next diehard level so he can come to the tailgate, but he doesn't live here, and he wants to pass on his diehard upgrade tailgate ticket to one of his friends that does live here. He's asking questions in our Discord to do that. I, of course, took the liberty. Hope upper management doesn't mind saying that you absolutely can transfer that ticket, because why not? That's a great man right there. And now he's asking a question. Hoge, feel free to go ahead.
It is a good question. I'll keep my answer pretty brief, but I think we're going to see more man defense, and I think the success rate of that man defense, like how well it's working, will be a pretty good indicator. Now, they might be dealing with some injuries. Is Jalen Johnson 100%? I think is Jaquan Brisker back there now all of a sudden after he left practice yesterday. But also what we've already seen a little bit in the preseason is a little bit of, they'll play match on one side and then zone the other side. And so it's how they handle that, and that's going to force players to have to, play multiple types of defense on. There's just going to be more multiple in general, I think, and have to play man at the same time. And I just think there's going to be more chances taken defensively. I think they're going to be more aggressive. And how does that match the talent of this defense, which I think on paper it does? But what is the success rate with all of that, and how many big plays is it leading to when it doesn't work? Because if you're going to play defense that way, you are going to give up big plays at times.
I think if you're going to look at what – I think he's looking for like some advanced statistics. So I'm going to go by what Ben Johnson told us at the NFL owners meetings in Florida. Like QB EPA is number 1. So in this case, opposing QB EPA, if you want to look at that, you can't really see that in live time taking place, but you could track it, I think I'm looking for like this blitz strategy to me is what I'm watching, because it's coming from everywhere. And if you see quarterbacks confused, if you see quarterbacks taking timeouts, if you see free rushers coming at quarterbacks, if you see the hot reads covered, if you see that type of stuff happening every week, I think you have a good idea that Dennis Allen's defense is working how he's designing it. Like if the opposing quarterback is confused every week, I think that's what you're looking for in terms of the strategy coming from Dennis Allen.
All right, next question.
Gregory.
Yes, sir. Well, we'll bring it up here. And Matt Brown here from our Discord channel. Once again, you can become a diehard and join our Discord channel at allchgo.com/diehard. Matt Brown asks, what player do you think will grow the most from last year besides Caleb? And who is a player that will surprise us this year?
I mean, I think the easy answer to this is Roma Dunze, but Johnsy, where are you going to go?
That is the easy answer. That's the name I was going to go with. Carm, we're on the same page here mentally, I guess, today.
That's scary for you, Jahns.
It's great for you, Jahns, and great for me, because geniuses think alike, damn it.
Great for Carm. Terrible for Jahns.
I think the Bears' running game is going to be pretty good. I don't know what that means just in terms of like the workload. I imagine DeAndre Swift is going to get like 70% of it. Maybe Roshan Johnson or Manangai steal some touchdowns from him, but I see very productive seasons. Or a productive season out of the running back room in its entirety. But yes, Roma Dunze, I think, is the easy answer here as the other first round pick from last year.
And along the great minds think alike. I agree. DeAndre Swift, I think, is going to have a big time year. I think the Bears are going to run the ball a ton. He's going to have the ball in his hands. Who the hell's behind him? We don't even know. I think that's a very safe bet. If I was taking overs and doing that type of betting, I would bet on DeAndre Swift.
Can I give you I'm going to answer this question a little bit different in terms of, I'm going to give you a player that I think it's actually even more important than Roma Dunze that takes a massive step forward this year.
Okay.
I'm not saying he would be my pick for it, but Darnell Wright, like the Bears need to have at least one of their tackles be a lockdown tackle. And they drafted this guy to be that, number 10 overall. And so I just think it's year 3, it's go time, it's important, and I would say that that's more important than Roma Dunze taking the step forward with the amount of depth the Bears have at wide receiver right now.
Oh, I thought the question was about who's going to provide it, because I could.
No, it was.
See
I'm
it
changing
coming
the
from-
question.
yeah. Okay.
I'm changing the question just a little bit to say
Hoge's pulling a Carm. Just
Yeah.
making his own rules.
I would say,
I like it.
to me, the answer who will grow the most from last year besides Caleb and who is a player that will surprise us this year, I think maybe that answer is Tremaine Edmonds. Because I think a lot of Bears fans were down on him, the last couple of years, not really living up to the contract. And so far what we've seen at training camp is a guy that has gotten in passing lanes, has been somebody that feels like he's a little more comfortable in this defense than what we saw the last couple of years. And I think there's the potential that he could be the guy that surprises people by actually living up to the contract that he was given.
That's not a bet I would make, but I like the optimistic tone you're taking about that. That would be huge for the Bears.
it would help. All right, let's get to the last question from our diehards.
Soil Chuck?
Soil Chuck.
It's bold. Doesn't sound like it was a great day.
Yeah, Mark Carman once soil chucked his. Never mind. What's the biggest difference of the red flags from this year versus last year? I.e., should we be as worried about the red flags coming out of camp as we should have been last year?
I get it, Soil Chuck. What's looked terrible and what's going to continue to look terrible?
Well, I think a big difference here, and John's, I think the red flags last year were a little bit more like underlying, like under the surface, and they weren't quite as obvious. Like right now, red flag, left tackle, right?
Yeah, that's
okay. Red flag, Dio Dangbo hasn't had it. Like these are a little bit more obvious. Whereas like last year, there was like this thing that was bubbling under the surface throughout the summer, throughout training camp, that they just didn't really buy into what Shane Waldron was trying to teach. And there's no question that Ben Johnson has the buy-in right now. Like I'm not worried about that. I don't know if that's positive or negative, but I just think that the red flags this year are a little bit easier to spot.
Well, then they came to surface, week 3 of the season, was it? When players were openly questioning what was happening offensively during the weekly news conferences. Not at their lockers during scrums, but
you need to be coached harder.
Yes, at the podium, like that was alarming. I mean, that's a red flag planted right in the soil at Alice Hall, and that speaks. But then, like a red flag like that goes all the way to the top to the head coach, who had all these private meetings. You know, you saw him on Hard Knocks with Matty Berflus and Caleb Williams and whatnot. Like that to me, when you had that red flag about your offensive coordinator, about this offensive coordinator search that they patted themselves on the back later on because they thought they had a great process, like that's a red flag all the way to the top. Not just Shane Waldron, but that goes to Matty Berflus, and we saw how things played out last year. But like I think the red flags this year are more individualistic concerns, like the left tackle spot, or can Dayo Adangbo be a consistent pass rusher? Can Jalen Johnson return to form after being out the entirety of training camp? Like those are the red flags that I'm seeing right now. They're all individual player based as opposed to something organizational, starting from the head coach going down to the coordinators and so on. This is different this year.
Well, I think the thing that's refreshing about whatever red flags the team has right now is the coaching staff is letting the fan base and the media know what those are. They're offering these things up and not hiding from them. At one point, Dan Roshar comes up and says, well, when Darnell Wright's conditioning isn't right, he loses focus. Well, they offered that. It wasn't as if a media member pointed that out and then they had to answer to it. They offered that to us. So I just think from whatever operation standpoint with the team not having clean, pre-snap stuff with delay of games and false starts and everything, the coaching staff is looking it dead in the face and saying, these are the things we need to fix or we're not going to win many football games. Whereas last year, especially with Hard Knocks around, it was a lot of putting lipstick on a pig. And for us in the media or fan base, we really didn't know some of the underlying issues. Now, you knew that Nate Davis was a huge red flag and that chicken came home to roost real quick. But I think there was some more underlining things that were going on during training camp that we just weren't aware of at the time.
Maybe we can beat this dead horse into the ground, but I don't think you have to overthink it this year. How does the quarterback and the head coach, that relationship develop to along the way to when the Bears start winning football games and the offense starts to look smooth and these guys are on the same page and Ben truly is able to unlock Caleb to the full potential? That's what this year's about. I don't really see a whole lot. It starts there and maybe it doesn't end there, but it's going to start there and it's going to continue to be there, and that's going to be the storyline for at least until it gets established. That's what's going to be going on.
You could say it's the one and only storyline, Carm, and not just the wins. Like, how does this relationship grow and improve through the losses? Like that intensity side, that intense side from Ben Johnson. Like, how does he handle loss with his quarterback? How does he handle a 3-interception day with a 50% completion percentage one day? Like, how does he go through that film with Caleb Williams? Like, that's part of what's going to happen this season. You hope you don't have games that bad, but if they do happen, how does the relationship get through games like that and continue to build on something towards the future? So, yes, I'd argue it's probably the one and only storyline to really watch throughout the entire season. Of course, there's many, but that one's number one.
And it might be a little bit of a roller coaster, too. We'll find out pretty quickly.
Dial it in.
All right, Johnsy, enjoy your Labor Day weekend. Get some rest.
I will. We'll see you, fellas.
All right. Maybe have a couple beers, too. I don't know. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I'm going to be heavily intoxicated this weekend.
Okay.
No, I feel...
You don't have to keep talking.
Thank you. Well, I just want to. I want to address one thing before we do a very nice.
We have to get to Superchats too.
And it's overtime. And it's overtime.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cornell Bryant, you got to chill. Thank you. Now we can move along. No one is rooting against Caleb on this show, buddy.
Okay.
Thank you. Let's go.
Storylines I'm already exhausted with.
Just nauseating.
The Carms love triangle with Caleb and Tyson Bagent.
It's so annoying.
Please, yes, I agree. Please start the season. Cannot wait. So
I've done nothing.
all right, let's get to some super chats, and then we will definitely shout out our guy Kevin here as we get out of here. But first, before we get super chats, great time now to become a diehard. Your base tier, you've got a limited time $59 intro offer going on right now to join our Chicagoland football club. But if you want to go big, and this thing really pays for itself the second you buy it, the tailgate tier. Come on out. Tailgate tier, you get 2 tickets to our tailgates every single year that you remain in that tailgate tier, and access to all of our content as well as we hit overtime here on CHGO Bears. Let's jump into the supers. I know we got a few.
Whoever came up with the tailgate tier around here, I support that person getting a raise. I love that idea. I can't wait to see our tailgates overflowing. Now to you, Hoge.
All right. Wherever you want to go, Steven. Blake with $1.
That's what you love about Balake. Just out of nowhere, I'll just give you $1. Thank you, Balake.
Brendan Henderson, $5. I mean, it's less of Carm landing the plane and more of Carm piloting Malaysia Flight 370 and going somewhere unknown.
Hop on board, Brendan. You love it. Don't think I don't know you don't.
That's a reference. Q Harlan, $20. Appreciate all the well wishes following my back surgery. Second post-op follow-up went well. First physical therapy appointment set for September 9th. Bears better kick purple posterior. # bear down. Yeah, that's the day after the game. I mean, you're going into PT feeling way better after a victory.
Yeah, the Bears need to do it for Q Harlan.
Yeah.
And Q Harlan, you're a champion. Hang in there, my friend. That can't be fun. Good on you being out there telling everybody what's going on. Powers to you.
Yeah. Brendan Henderson, $5. Well, hopefully we see more correct red flags from our coach.
That's right.
How about no red flags? That would be great.
That is what I thought they were talking about with that question at the start.
Lassie, I hope I'm saying that right. I have no idea what currency that is, but it's 50-somethings.
Denmark.
It's the Deutsch.
I want to go to Denmark. Oh, yeah, it says it right there in the super. I can read. Bear down, a lot of work to do, but we can even feel the excitement in Denmark. God, I love the international fan base.
Yes.
And how much they love the show. We appreciate you.
We want to come and visit and perhaps live there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
Crystal.
how can we?
Or no,
make
we're
that
going
happen?
Tony here. My bad. $2 from Tony Williams. Eberflus PTSD has me worried, but I trust BJ.
Listen, there is a 10-step program for that, Tony, and hit us up in the Discord. We'll get you set up. It's not easy.
And then Anthony with $2. Carmonica or song, please.
Great news on that. I lost the Carmonica. I didn't know where it was. Then we had the golf outing. Then I opened my golf bag, and there miraculously was the Carmonica. Now, I forgot to take the Carmonica out of the golf bag, but I have relocated the Carmonica.
Wonderful.
So you guys are in luck. The Carmonica will be returning next week. Perhaps even tomorrow. Me and you, Gregory.
Oh man,
Wouldn't that be good? Maybe a
I'm
full
so
hour?
excited.
I know. You've been so happy to see me since I walked in the door today. It's been, the amount of love I felt from you is it's overflowing.
I'm not feeling good.
Yeah, it's okay.
Good job by Carr making this transition as awkward as possible. All right, so we lost a good friend of the show, literally a neighbor, and we have a couple super chats, and then we're gonna talk about a little bit ourselves. But Bob Hannon here with a $100 super chat, which we greatly appreciate, says R.I.P. to my friend, brother, drummer, and fellow diehard Kevin Kostelecky. He brought people together wherever he went, whether at his bar, which is the store, known going till 4 a.m. at Halstead and Armitage, at an Humphreys McGee concert, or across the alley from a fledgling Chicago sports empire. Love you always, Kev. Well said, Bob. And then obviously a good friend also, Crystal, with $20 super, saying, R.I.P. Kevin, had plans to meet up this season. He was a really nice guy and always reached out to me on Instagram. Prayers for his family and friends. We will have to bring home the championship in honor of Kevin. So, if you don't know who we're talking about, we've we've referred to him as Naked Guy on this show. I know he's got some other nicknames on other shows, but you can't see this if you're watching on YouTube, but to my right, there's a door that goes out on a balcony, and it's basically an alley we're on here, and across the way there's a bunch of apartments, condos that all have individual balconies, and the one that's literally in my peripheral vision for Braggs over there, he's looking that way the entire show, is a guy named Kevin who would be out there hanging out pretty much anytime the temperature was above 50 degrees, shirtless, hanging out, and he just became a character on the show, Naked Guy. Well, it turns out Kevin was a huge fan of the show, fan of CHGO. He's a big White Sox fan too, big Chicago sports fan.
His hang stuff out on his balcony to signify like Bears season or Bull
he put
season.
Signs, jerseys,
Yeah.
LeBron Suck shirts,
Yeah.
like all types of things out there, and he contributed to the show and also owns the store, which is, a lot of Chicagoans know the store. It sponsored our softball team this year too. So one of the amazing things about CHGO and our Diehards and we're building a community here, and so it's tough when we get the sad news that we found out yesterday that Kevin passed away, and we were all stunned by it, absolutely stunned and saddened by it. Because he's literally somebody that we would look over here and see, and it's weird looking at the balcony today and just knowing he's not there.
So, Kevin, we lost one of our great cheerleaders. This was he was very, very, very supportive of me, and he out of nowhere is like, I want to sponsor the softball team. And so he did, and he gave us hats, and he took me to a Bulls game. We sat in the 5th row, ridiculous box seats with him, and he was just always randomly texting me really nice things. Kevin, for those who don't know him, which is probably most of you, he went to Glenbrook North. He was born in 1974. He was 51 years old. He was the life of the party type, and he was also somebody that literally everyone in his life, he had their back. Talking to his friends that I have, just this morning, and people reaching out on Instagram, and that was my experience. He was just wind at your back type of dude. And then he was riding his bike and got in a terrible car accident, got hit by a car. Dude's just riding his bike, and it tremendously impacted his life. He was just not the same after that, and battled his way back, rehabbed the whole thing, and then it got harder and harder. He was living with a lot of pain, so which is just 51 years old. So it's just very, very, very young, and I don't exactly know what happened, but I know it wasn't easy for him the last couple of years. But this guy, taking all that into account, and the most positive guy going, I'm really gonna miss him, because it's just random notes of, and as or maybe you don't know, sitting in the seat, you take some risks, you say some things, people are coming at you, and this guy he just had our back. So Peck called him Shirtless Wonder. He watched all the shows here. He supported us. He sponsored a hole at our most recent golf tournament. The store was there. I took a picture of it, sent it to him. Didn't hear back, which was surprising. So I kind of, sort of had I was like, is he mad at us or something like that? But of course, it was way worse than that. So anyway, Kevin was a great guy. I'm gonna miss him, and I appreciated his support to all his friends and family who are seeing this. Just know that I greatly appreciated Kevin.
Yeah, no question. Like you said, I'm always looking this way, so every time I'd see him come out, and he's very creature of habit, and so you'd see him out there a lot, and his chair's sitting out there right now, and there was many times where sometimes I like to be out on the balcony and do some of my work just to be outside and get away from the hubbub going on in here, and he'd be out there, and sometimes we'd trade a conversation about something, and he was always very upbeat, and like you said, very supportive of everything we do here at CHGO Sports, and so it's just very sudden and sad, and he definitely will be missed.
Huge Chicago sports fan. Loved the Hawks, was a season ticket holder. Loved the White Sox. Brian, his friend who I was talking to, he watched them win the World Series at the store in 2005. You know, things have been around forever. Huge Bulls fan. Talked a ton of Jordan with him. Obviously Bears too. I'm not sure if he hated the Cubs or not, but sounds like he might have, which is respect if that's the way it went. You know, so at any rate, which I know that, you know, all the great sports fans we have that watch this, you can feel his presence there too.
Yeah, I have a feeling this won't be, you know, I think all of our shows had some connection. Well, maybe not the Cubs one, to Kevin. So it's probably, you know, if you're watching along today, probably not the last you're going to hear about this and remembering our guy, our naked guy, our shirtless wonder, Kevin Kostelecky, gone too soon. We're gonna miss you, brother.